First and foremost, happy Cowboy Tuesday. Tuesday. All right. Or just whenever y'all watch this. I know some of y'all catch on the lunch break the next day or whenever, but when the Cowboys win one time, they win throughout the week. So today we're looking at defensive end Micah Parsons. Last week we looked at Mike linebacker Micah Parsons, and who knows, next week we may be looking at full-blown quarterback spy Micah Parsons when we line up against Jalen Hurts and them. Something we can't do with Micah, we can't call him Swiss Army knife. When you think about a Swiss Army knife, you think of this thing with a bunch of tools that just do things okay. You know what I mean? You can cut paper with a Swiss Army knife, but you wouldn't want to cut a steak with a Swiss Army knife. Those tools aren't elite tools. They just get you by. Micah Parsons does a little bit of everything, but he does it with this level of greatness, and I can't wait to see how this season unfolds. But we got to be patient with him, right? We know he's this super athletic ball of clay that's figuring this thing out as we go. There were some I Am Legend monsters that was in my chat box or whatever. They were saying, Voch, Micah Parsons doesn't look good at the end. We're wasting Parsons at the end. This is his first time kind of doing things like this, and just imagine how he's doing now, not doing a whole bunch of this, not having much practice or reps doing this stuff. He just naturally rolls out the bed doing it. He may be, I don't know, man. He might be competing for your second best pass rusher. We'll cross that road whenever we get there. He's just that freaky athletic. But all right, so we got Micah Parsons lined up outside the right tackle. Let's just take a look at him, bro. And one thing that that I will give him so much credit for is that he got better throughout the game. He did kind of have a weird little, first quarter or whatever. But like I said, it takes patience, man. He hasn't done a whole bunch of this. We see Micah fighting for this inside right here, and it just looks kind of sloppy, right? His hands aren't very good. There's this one thing that you got to do when you go into any direction of an offensive lineman. You got to attack those limbs immediately, right? And Micah didn't really do a good job of that. Just kind of a sloppy job pass rushing and getting back inside. But ladies and gentlemen, there's more. This is later on in the game, Micah Parsons versus the right tackle, and you see he does a much more clean job of taking that inside. Now, Micah, we need you to finish there, buddy. But we did eventually flush Justin Herbert out of the pocket. This was considered a hurry. But what was so different between this rush and that last rush? The last rush was just kind of Micah hand fighting and missing. You have to really tighten down your techniques in the National Football League, and Micah's learning that. We got what, 15 more games to figure this out? 15 more games to figure this out. You got to be real precise with your movement. So instead of hand fighting, look, I know I'm trying to get inside. Let me go for that inside armpit there. I always say this during draft season when we talk about these pass rushes. Attack that side. If you're gonna go for that side, attack the wrist or that armpit. Right now, Micah Parsons is going to attack the armpit. We're going to get a good little shove, get inside, and we're going to complete the pressure. Let's keep watching, though. There was a point in the game where Micah Parsons was just lining up over the right tackle. He was kicking his ass, and it would just be a whole bunch of holding, bro. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that says anything happened because of the referees or whatnot, because I think if you play better, you shouldn't have to rely on the referees. But, bro, I just sometimes wonder, and I wonder, how many more sacks would Micah Parsons would have had this game if the right tackle wasn't constantly just holding? But we see some pretty good explosiveness right here from Parsons, and we see a bit of a setup move, right? We see a little to the outside, then back inside. So we just see him constantly getting better, but there's more. Now, this one I found really fun, right? A little bit ago, I just said you have to really refine your moves. You have to really know what you're attacking and how you're going to attack it. You go back to Hard Knocks, we saw D. Ware teaching Micah Parsons things like this, but just stay tuned. Just watch me just work for a second. We see Micah rushing off the right side here, and we don't see that refined hand fighting. We see some aggressive hand fighting, just like in the last move, right? When he was trying to work inside, just some randomized hand fighting, not very crisp, not very good with his hand fighting technique, in which this is okay because Micah Parsons is a young dude. He hasn't done a whole bunch of D-end pass rushing, so of course he's not going to have refined hands just yet. And maybe if he had refined hands, he would have smoked this right tackle even worse. Look at what he's doing with non-refined hand fighting, right? But watch this. But what if I told you later in this very same game he had a rush on the outside and he had to refine his hand fighting? See. Wait a minute, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing like a good plan coming together. You know what I'm talking about? Now, the first hand, like I said, it was some pretty good hand fighting there, and Micah did effectively get a pretty solid pressure on that first rush. Right? You can rewind if you want to see it, but the difference between this rush, let's try our best to slow it down. Because Game Pass ain't got our good slow down tool, but it's cool. Look at how much more different this hand fighting is. Look at how much more refined this hand fighting is. We actually have a proper attacking of the outside hand and a slap over the top of it to finish the look. And look, when I say finish the rush, I meant like finish the bend, right? He actually finished getting around the edge. Now at this point, we need Micah to finish and go get Justin Herbert. This is what we need the most, right? But in terms of that first time, it was just like non-refined hand fighting. Now, cha-cha-cha. Do you wear taught me this? Cha-cha real smooth. You see what I'm saying? And look, man, the more Micah does this, the closer he gets to Justin Herbert. One time, it'll be a hurry. Another time, it'll be like a super pressure. Another time, it's going to be a hit. And then one day, Micah Parsons is going to be rushing. I hate Jalen for doing this. One day, Micah Parsons is going to be rushing, and he's going to be getting sacks. And it's going to happen one day, and it's going to be real scary when it happens. Micah's going to slow down. And I know Micah probably wants everything to be super fast now because he's super fast, dude. Everything he's ever done in his life has been super fast. But at some point, he's going to slow down. He's going to start rushing with a plan, kind of like he's doing here. Like this time, he was like, all right, cool. I'm just going to lead upfield and like spin back inside. But one day, Micah's going to be like, okay, cool. Let me set up an outside whatever move, then I'm going to spin back inside. If that doesn't work, I'm going to counter with a bull rush. You see what I'm saying? Like when you start to rush with that level of nuance, right? We just see Micah growing here. And I think games like this are necessary, right? Games to where Micah isn't super, and let me just be clear here, because he did get 8 pressures and 1 sack here. Like he wasn't super crazy dominant or whatever, but you need games like this for him to learn his moves, for him to learn what works, for him to learn what he can and cannot do. You know what I mean? How to navigate within his athleticism. It's gonna be a movie one day, but it ain't the day. Then all this was later in the game, right? We saw earlier he had this fake to the outside. It was more of a head fake than get back inside. Now he's giving a whole fake step to the outside then get back inside, right? So the more Micah gets comfortable, bro, like the more you see him adding, different nuances to his rush. And this results in another Justin Herbert pressure. You know what I mean? Now, this is where I think is going to be important for Micah next week, right? Going versus Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts just kind of runs from this. Jalen Hurts, I think Jalen might be a little more athletic than Herbert. Herbert is athletic. I think Jalen might be a little more athletic, but Jalen ain't like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, nothing like that, But I think it'll be more impactful for us to just have a rusher to rush Jalen Hurts and then to have Micah Parsons as the spy guy. So when we see Jalen scrambling like this, Micah could be the cleanup guy opposed to the flush guy, if that makes sense. And this play is the Micah Parsons sack, the actual sack that he got versus Justin. And this was very impactful. So, when I first saw it, it didn't look like a sack, so I didn't really get super hyped about it. It just kind of looked like a pressure. But when they called it a sack, I'm like, oh, impact. Because if it was just a pressure and some incompletion, then they'll get the ball like at the, like inside the 10 or whatever. But the fact that Justin Herbert lost like 20 something yards on this actual sack, it just lets you know what the impact was, man. The impact was just much bigger like this. What I thought was most impressive, which is the reason why I actually say this, is look at the burst on the end of this, right? You see Micah Parsons right here chasing down Justin Herbert. Look at the burst at the end of that, man. Micah Parsons got like 4 different speed gears, and that's something that another defensive end on this team that Starks ain't got, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna do like a Micah Parsons conversation piece later on in this week, talking about the state of defensive ends and how we're gonna use Parsons and maybe the future and money, things like that. But just imagine what 94 and 11 look like when you got both of them out there pass rushing. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying nothing, but whatever. Hey, This is a fun little film session that I got a chance to put together. Hey, don't get discouraged when you see Micah Parsons not really do much versus Rashawn Slater, but then you see him beating the shit out of 74. I just want to be honest with you. In the league, and you can check our schedule and go look, it's a lot more 74s in this league than there are 70s. You know what I mean? And you know, we playing against a team next week that got some offensive line troubles. We playing against a team in week 4 that got Cam Fleming starting at tackle. We playing against a team in week 5 that got some screw up from UConn 2 years ago playing tackle. You know what I mean? The Patriots tackle situation isn't necessarily figured. You know, like the Broncos tackle, you know, situation. The Falcons ain't got good tackles. You know what I mean? So there are tackles to be abused out here. So hey, don't get discouraged when you see Micah doing some versus one guy and he's not doing much versus the other guy. Then what we're gonna do at that point is just put Randy, the refined pass rusher, on the better pass blocker, and we'll put Micah Parsons on the, you know, the worst guy. As long as we get the result that we want, is all that matters. One more thing that I'm going to talk about before I move on, because I really want to save a lot of my talking points for my Micah Parsons conversation thing that I'm going to drop later this week. Is I was super impressed by how small Micah ass is and how strong he is for his size. You know, Micah's not built like any of the other DNs on this team necessarily. Like, he looks kind of smaller. He hadn't even had the offseason peanut butter. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be next year when he blows up and get big, you know? But just for a guy his size, you know, you would think that he had problems with strength and not being powerful. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. He may have got washed around in some of these run game reps because he just wasn't ready, or he like misread something. But Micah is not missing much strength here. So just wanted to leave y'all with that. Next film session I'm going to be working on is how the Cowboys and Terrence Steele dealt with Joey Bosa. All right. With that being said, hey, y'all follow me on Twitter, VOCHLOMBARDI, and I'm gonna be adding some new things to the Patreon. I'm gonna be adding rookie follow-up film, you know, so that's more so for my draft crew. We're gonna be taking a look at some rookies and how they did, and you know, in their respective teams, and you know, just watch some film on them since the all 22 is here. All right, y'all hold it down for the Doski Woski, the Peasky Whiskey, man. Until next time, peace.